name is Emma Yule and I'm speaking at the Global Impact Conference. I'm a PhD researcher and tutor at the University of Edinburgh. I research extreme events, their impacts and the ways we can adapt. And I'm co-chair of the Leaders Network at 2050 Climate Group. Today, I will be speaking about how we can tackle extreme weather events and boost urban resilience. So what do we mean by an extreme weather event? An extreme weather event is one that is unexpected for the season or severe, and at the extreme ends of the historical distribution. So an event which is significantly different from the usual weather or average conditions for that particular location or time of year. This includes extreme temperatures such as heat waves, extreme precipitation, including droughts and flooding events. Throughout history, we've always had heat waves and flooding events, but today we are seeing something different. Rising global temperatures are already affecting many weather and climate extremes in every region of the globe. According to the latest IPCC report, AR6, it is virtually certain that hot extremes have become more frequent and more intense across most land regions since the 1950s, while cold extremes have become less frequent and less severe. In fact, some recent hot events observed over the past decade would have been extremely unlikely to occur without global warming. And the frequency and intensity of heavy precipitation events have also increased since the 1950s over most land areas. Extreme events can also combine in what is known as a compound event. For example, a heat wave alongside a drought in the same location or time period, a storm surge alongside extreme rainfall, or a heat wave with the conditions necessary for a wildfire event. This is what's happening now. But what does the future look like? Here at COP26, a key goal is to keep 1.5 degrees within reach. In other words, to try to limit warming as much as possible, as every fraction of a degree matters, while keeping 1.5 degrees of warming as the ceiling. In terms of extreme events, what would a planet that has warmed by 1.5 degrees look like compared to one that has warmed by 2 degrees of warming? According to the IPCC special report entitled Global Warming of 1.5 degrees, an additional 10 million people are at risk of flooding under 2 degrees of warming compared to 1.5. And droughts could last twice as long with warming of 2 degrees Celsius compared to 1.5. So who is impacted by such events? Extreme events are already impacting most regions around the world, with impacts being strongly felt in the global south. Climate change is a threat multiplier and can exacerbate social inequalities, including famine, poverty and health. In fact, limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees compared to 2 degrees of warming could reduce the number of people, both exposed to climate-related risks and susceptibility to poverty, by up to several hundred million by 2050. Gender also plays a role in understanding who is most at risk from extreme events, particularly where gender norms mean that more women are responsible for producing and gathering food and water, for example. And according to the third report of the UK Climate Change Risk Assessment, in many rural towns and villages and also in smaller cities and towns in the UK, the most socially vulnerable communities are exposed to higher flood risk on average than those who are less vulnerable. This demonstrates the strong link between social justice and climate justice. So coming now to cities and urban populations, what do we mean by urban resilience? I'll use the definition of urban resilience from the Resilient Cities Network, which is around urban resilience being the capacity of a city's systems, businesses, institutions, communities and individuals to survive and adapt to shocks such as extreme weather events. It is around creating place-based solutions that are inclusive and risk-aware through meaningful engagement with the most vulnerable members of a community. To protect citizens and make cities work for its inhabitants, city systems need to both mitigate and adapt. They need to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions so we can avoid global temperatures increasing by more than 1.5 degrees, and they need to consider what practices need to be put in place to adapt to the warmer planet we're in today, and also to adapt to future warming scenarios. Community engagement is a key part of understanding what risks an urban environment faces, as well as being able to utilise the knowledge of local people in creating solutions in order to help prevent maladaptation. Community engagement and involvement can highlight key risks and concerns, and can help to inform more people about the need to adapt to extreme events, and allow communities to develop and utilise a range of skills and knowledge to help prepare and deal with events. Community engagement and involvement can also be a method of understanding what kind of solutions and adaptation practices would be more or less acceptable to citizens. So what solutions have come out of community engagement or involvement workshops? Adaptations to extreme events will vary based on the hazards the area is exposed to, vulnerability, geography and location. I've been part of a few consultations recently that have taken place here in Scotland in the UK, discussing potential ways to increase resilience while reducing greenhouse gas emissions. One such consultation involved collecting the views of young people around Scotland, which was done by 2050 Climate Group. Ideas for solutions include changes in transport and how we move around cities, housing, as well as the use of green spaces and nature-based solutions. With regards to transport, participants put forward the idea of not only switching from fossil fuels to electric vehicles, but also reducing the number of cars on the roads. This could be done by improvements to public transport and by producing safe cycle lanes, for example. Shared or rented car schemes could also be introduced in cities to reduce the number of cars on the road, to reduce emissions and city congestion, as well as reducing air pollution. With regards to housing, the idea that all new housing developments must be energy efficient and affordable was put forward, as well as introducing innovative approaches to heating, such as district heat networks, to ensure all homes have access to clean, reliable and affordable energy. On a broader scale, circular economy principles could be used to ensure that buildings are used to their full potential, for example by using offices for community centres in the evening, as well as being able to reuse building materials, for example using a more modular design, allowing materials to be reused. Many cities around the UK and in Scotland have circular economy groups and networks to assist communities and local businesses to become more circular. When creating new green spaces, communities should be involved in the design, delivery and maintenance of this infrastructure. Green spaces must be designed to deliver multiple ecosystem services, particularly flood prevention and improved air quality. In addition, green spaces should be open to the public and be placed in locations to reduce social inequalities, as many green spaces in cities today are in high-income areas. This is particularly important as green spaces can benefit our mental and physical health, as well as providing shade during heat waves and can be used as a flooding defence. This demonstrates the wide range of ideas and solutions and ways put forward to increase urban resilience. This is also a way of understanding what solutions would benefit community members, what changes would be acceptable to citizens, and what solutions can bring co-benefits and reduce social inequalities. Working with local residents and communities in a bottom-up way can help share knowledge and can help communities develop the skills needed to become more resilient to extreme weather events. Ideas and solutions that come from the bottom up can be scaled up from communities to cities to nations, and should also be supported with funding and sit alongside policies introduced by governments to aid resilience building. In summary, urban areas around the world are suffering and will continue to suffer from extreme events, including heat waves, droughts and flooding, as global temperatures rise. Cities must engage and work alongside local communities and residents to implement solutions that reduce greenhouse gas emissions and increase resilience, while reducing social inequalities. Solutions must be place-based and inclusive, increasing the standard of living and protection offered to extreme events. Thank you.